What's up, everybody? This is Whiskey in the Six. I'm Rob. Doing a Longrow rundown here. I got the Longrow Red Pinot Noir 11-year-old. This was bottled in 2019. I got the Longrow 14 Sherry Cask, which is bottled in 2018. And then, last but not least, the Longrow 17-year-old Chardonnay Cask, which was bottled in January of 2019. This one's 17 years old. I'm going to nose them, taste them, give them a mark, and I'm going to explain a little bit about each one. Starting over here with the Longrow Red. So, as you may know if you're following the Longrow Red series, this is the second time they did a Pinot Noir. This time was New Zealand casks. The last time was South African casks. So different types of Pinot Noir, going to give you a different flavor altogether. This one's bottled at 53.1%. Again, this one's 11 years old. The older one was, I believe, 12 years old. That's the fresh Pinot Noir right here. This one just says Pinot Noir cask matured, which could potentially mean that they aren't first fill casks. Let's have a look at the Pinot Noir right now. Okay, really nice nose. When I first opened this up, I was a little concerned. There was a little bit of a sulfury note. It seems to have dissipated. You do get a nice amount of peat on this one. Definitely a sweet barbecue style peat. What I love about Longrow Reds, what I love about Longrow in general. Obviously that Springbank funk is in there. More so in the Longrows than any of the other ones in my opinion. The peat does do a good job of rounding it out into like a barbecue style peatiness. So, brown sugar, barbecue sauce. There's some like smoked wood in there as well. Almost like a hickory note. Definitely some sort of syrupy note in there as well. Almost like a maple syrup. Man, that's really nice. On the palate. So, viscosity is really nice. There's a little bit of heat, but it's 53.1%. Cask strength whiskey. Really, really nice. All these Longrow Reds started in bourbon barrels and then moved to the wine cask that was chosen for that particular year. In this case, it was New Zealand Pinot Noir casks. It spent 8 years in bourbon barrels and then 3 years in refill Pinot Noir. So there you go. Whenever Longrow, Springbank, or Hazelburn use the word fresh, that means first fill. If they don't use the word fresh, it's going to be a refill cask, and that's the case over here. This is a refill Pinot Noir cask, but the color you get out of it is ridiculous in my opinion. I can't believe it. One more taste. So, I said to myself this year I wasn't going to split a bottle of the Longrow Red because I always end up giving it away halfway through and don't get to enjoy the money zone of the whiskey. I think now it's starting to enter into its money zone. I was a little worried at first, I'm not going to lie to you. The mark was originally going to be a little bit lower because it did taste and nose a little bit sulfured. But that's gone now, and thank goodness for that because this is drinking like the Longrow Reds that I know and love. If I had to compare this to one of the previous ones, this one reminds me of the port the most. It doesn't actually even remind me of the Pinot Noir, the original that I tasted as much, probably because of the different region of Pinot Noir casks, different country altogether, but this is really, really nice. I'm going to give this one an 88. I think it's really, really good stuff. It's not quite an A+ for me, but definitely delicious stuff, and I would definitely buy a second bottle of that. Moving on to the 14-year-old sherry cask matured. Now, like I said, whenever they don't use the word fresh, that means that it's probably refill, and that's the case over here. Only 9,000 bottles of this one made, distilled in September of 2003, bottled in July of 2018. Refill Oloroso sherry for 14 years. So, this one has mixed reviews all over the board. When I first opened the bottle, I was in love. When I tried it afterwards, that kind of went down a little bit. And then I've been going back and forth. The sulfur that is present in this does go away after some time. Unfortunately, it took quite a while to go away because this one is nearing the heel of the bottle, as you can tell here. All right, I split this bottle with a buddy of mine. I did buy a backup of this. I have a backup of all my Longrows just because I'm always concerned that if it's the jackpot, I'm never going to find it again. Longrows fly off the shelf. So whenever I buy them, I buy at least 2. But this is nosing a lot better. Definitely more along the peated, sherry-styled Longrow without the sulfur. It's become much, much better over time. It did lose quite a bit of that sulfur note. What happened at first was when you first open up a Longrow, it's super peated. You lose a little bit of that peat. When I lost a little bit of that peat, what was revealed was that sulfur note. It took a while for that sulfur note to go away. It's finally gone, and I can honestly say that this is nosing really, really nice right now. On the palate, so there is still a little bit of that matchstick type note. It's got some sulfur for sure on the palate. It's one of those things where the peat and the funk from Springbank or Longrow still kind of carry the whiskey, and in this case, that sulfury note, it doesn't get into the zones where I can't drink it. So it's still really, really nice. It's funny because if I gave this a mark when I first opened it, I thought I was going to give it in the 90s for sure. That's dropped since quite substantially. Tonight, it seems like it's gone up a touch more. So to be safe, I'm going to take another sip and confirm my mark here. So it starts off really nice, moves into like what you can tell is some peat and some sherry. And there is a little bit of sulfur there. It comes off more like a struck match, that kind of sulfur, not the sulfur that you guys know I refer to as like ammonia or those types of tastes. I'm not getting that here. It's playing with the line, but it's not crossing the line kind of thing. For that reason, it's still really good stuff. My first impressions were great. Went down a little bit after that. I think it's back up a little bit now. To be safe, I'm going to give this one an 83. This is good stuff. It's an 83, A-. Would I buy it again? Probably not at secondary prices, but if I can find this retail, yeah, I would probably pick that up. And because I forgot to mention, this is actually 57.8% ABV. So all 3 of these are cask strength, which is why I put them together tonight. Last but not least, the Springbank 17 Chardonnay Cask. This one is interesting because it's an Alberta exclusive. There are 360 bottles that went directly to Alberta. This one's bottled at 54.6%. Like I said, it's 17 years old. 7 years in bourbon casks, and then 10 years in a Chardonnay cask. So very, very different kind of whiskey. As you can tell, it's a decent color. You can tell the wine has some influence on this. When I first heard about it, I had to get it. It came out around the same time in Alberta as the Longrow Reds. These ones are almost pretty much allocated now. It's very difficult to get the Longrow Reds. It's going to be even more difficult as the years progress. But when I found out about this one, only 320 bottles, I had to have it. Okay, so on the nose, you get that Springbank funk. You get a little bit of that Longrow kind of peat. Not as much as these two here. I don't drink a lot of Chardonnay, so I don't know exactly what to look for. But when I think Chardonnay, I think something lighter, something a little bit less robust, like a Oloroso. Obviously, it's not a fortified wine. The nose is beautiful. There's not a ton of peat here. Definitely not compared to the other two. But you do get that beautiful Springbank funk. Like I said, 54.6%. There's a beautiful sweetness to this. Almost like a grape-like sweetness. Some vanillas in there as well. A little bit of peat, not much. All right, on the palate. So it starts off sweet, mid-palate super syrupy. The finish is just gorgeous on this. Almost like a grape juice. You get that Springbank funk on the back end. You get that peatiness on the back end. Nothing overpowering, nothing in your face, but just beautiful harmony with this one. And going for another sip. Yeah, wow. I like the best way to describe it is like fruit punch or like a grape drink, something almost like manufactured because they're like harvesting that sweetness. It's not overwhelmingly sweet by any means, but it's got a beautiful sweetness to it. It literally has like a grape juice type note in there that I love. You do get a little bit of vanillas. You get a little bit of oakiness. You get that Springbank funk. I think this would be a great introduction to those who are unfamiliar with Springbank, unfamiliar with the Longrow peat, because it's not going to overwhelm you. It's not going to get in your face, but it's going to put you in the zone where you'll be ready for a Longrow red, I think. Starting to pick up a little bit more peat on the nose now. A little bit of like a hickory wood as well. So, I used to own a smoker, and whenever you put the wood inside the smoker before you put meat or anything on the grill, you get the nice smoke starting to fume. That's kind of what I'm getting right now. And then it would be as if you threw a pineapple on there and some grapes and let those smoke as well. So that's kind of what I'm getting here. Beautiful. That's really, really nice. All of these take water really well. I let people play with their own water, but I will say that each one of these could use a drop. I'll leave it up to you to decide how much water needs to be added to each one of these, but each one of these at cask strength is very drinkable, very, very good. If I had to mark the Longrow 17 over here, man, the nose just gets better and better. It destroys both of these in my opinion. I gave the Longrow Red an 88. I gave the Longrow 14 Oloroso Sherry an 83. I'm going to say that this is a 91. This is beautiful stuff. Really, really nice. Kind of fits exactly what I'm looking for in a whiskey at the moment. It's got some nice complexity to it. It's got a good ABV. It's unique with the Chardonnay cask, something I haven't experienced that often. Just really, really well-rounded stuff. They did a great job. Whoever picked this for Alberta did an awesome job. Kudos to you. This is great, great, great whiskey. Wow. All right. So, like I said, to recap, the Longrow Red Pinot Noir 2019 11-year-old is an 88. The Longrow 14 Sherry is a 83. And the Longrow Single Cask Chardonnay 17-year-old is a 91. There are some people out there that absolutely adore this 14. There are some people out there that actually hate this 14. And it doesn't matter if you're a Longrow fan or not. The marks are all over the map with this one. I think it really depends on your tolerance to sulfur for this one, because this one does have it. If you don't like it at all, I would say definitely avoid this. If you like it, this is not going to be overwhelmingly sulfured, I think, but there is sulfur present. Like I said, originally I thought this was going to be a 90 when the peat was masking that sulfur note, but as I got into it a little bit more, it dropped quite substantially. I was actually prepared to give this a 79, but then my last couple experiences with this brought it up a little bit more. But the winner for me is definitely this 17-year-old. What a steal for Alberta. I feel bad for those who cannot get this, but I do think that there are other Chardonnay casks from Longrow that you can find out there. And I think there are some still available in Alberta, so check that out if you guys haven't already. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you really like the video and you haven't already, hit the subscribe button. You guys can also follow me on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. You guys can support this channel on Patreon and click the bell so you get the notifications for whenever I post a video. Cheers.